Brand new Mayday here on November 12th, my anniversary of my wedding with my wife. Yeah, I don't know why you guys would know that. Welcome to Mayday. This is a show about the show. Welcome back. We are back to it weekly, every week. First hour on Foul Territory. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you are not already, even though I don't know why you would be here if you weren't. But regardless, subscribe, even if you forgot. And then hour two will be live on Trevor May Baseball. That is my personal channel. And we will be transitioning to over there in just about an hour or so. So, so much to talk about today. It is currently, as many of you know, as all of you probably know, it is the off season. And with the off season sometimes comes a little bit lighter of the sports commentary, at least baseball commentary, because there's just not as much to talk about. But this week is awards week. I know that I said that we were going to have the other awards, the Mayday Awards, the custom award show that we do here, giving a little bit more love to the non-Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judges of the world, to the other guys. And the people that love the game, we want to give you guys some love as well. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that a little bit later. But if you want to vote on the community awards for that for next week, because that is when we're going to do it. We're going to do it next week because we want all the other awards to get out of the way. And they will not be out of the way until tomorrow when the MVPs are announced. So we will talk a little bit about what has been announced and how we feel about it at that point. But so today, we're going to talk more about some bigger stories, maybe more on the controversy side of things. Now, that's not my favorite thing in the world, but just like anyone else, I like some good tea. And we have two main stories, two big ones, and then another one that I've been working on for going on 2 months now that I think you guys will find interesting. Another way of thinking about another thing that might affect your team and its success throughout a season that I think is kind of overlooked and has a much bigger impact than most people realize. So we're going to get right into it. It's going to be a really fun show, but exclamation point vote in the Team A baseball chat if you want to follow that, or Twitch, or if you guys are watching over on Twitch, you can do it there as well. All right, let's just hop right into our first story for today's show, and it is a doozy. Shady dealings. We have two big stories that have come out over the last couple weeks, many of which I will be referencing from The Athletic. The guys and girls over there do such a great job of reporting, some of the best in the business. And both of these stories have multiple articles covering them. So we have a little bit of shady dealings, a double feature, two stories. And we're going to get into it. And obviously, the first one we're going to start with is the big one, the big ticket item. What a lot of people are wondering, what the heck is going on and what does it all mean? We had the Cleveland Guardians pitchers, Luis L. Ortiz and Emanuel Clase, indicted for, well, betting and then influencing the games in which they were playing in. And we were hoping this wasn't what actually happened. And it turns out it might be. Now, there are still going to be trials, and this is going to be an ongoing process, and there's going to be a lot of discovery and evidence put forward and rebuttals made and all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to draw any judgments on like what actually happened, what didn't, but some of this stuff, at least reported in The Athletic by Zach Meisel, I believe, did much of this reporting with a pickup by Ken Rosenthal, also participated in the latest article covering it. But basically, we're just going to go through this whole situation, and I'm going to treat it like a trend on the internet where I am going to explain the thing using a mind map. If you don't know what a mind map is, it's going to involve the whiteboard. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. But we're going to try to figure out all the points that happened, how it all kind of unraveled, and what compelling evidence points to one way or the other what was going on, and then what that could possibly mean for not only these guys and not only for the Cleveland Guardians, but just baseball and betting and just everything involved. I have a lot to say, so we're gonna go right into it. Okay, so these three articles are the ones I'm going to be referencing, okay? We have what we know about MLB's gambling investigation. This was put up in July of last year. This is the day that Clase got suspended after Ortiz had 3 weeks prior. So at this point, we know both those guys are up. This was actually then updated on November 9th after the indictments came out. And then we also are going to get into this one with more information. And then we have the last one where we were able to get some text and stuff reported on. So now we know exactly how some of the communications happened, and it's looking worse and worse and worse for these two gentlemen. So as always, I highly recommend checking out Zach's prior work and everything else he does. He does a really good job, but also read the full articles on The Athletic if possible. They have a very affordable subscription system, and I think they do a really good job, and there's a lot of content there. So if you are looking to support a publication directly, I would highly recommend them as one of them. But obviously, do whatever you need to do that your life needs you to do. Okay, so let's get into the facts, okay? Here's the general gist of what's happening for anyone who's missed it or maybe hasn't read Super New. They know that's going on, but they don't know exactly what happened. Basically, both Emanuel Clase and Luis L. Ortiz were indicted, meaning they were officially charged, formally charged, with the following charges. Wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, which is kind of like, hey, I'll change what I do if you give me money for it, right? Conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, kind of the offshoot of the prior one. And then money laundering conspiracy and a potential sentence. So if they got maximum for every charge put out, it could be up to 65 years in prison if convicted on all charges. So that's the type of thing we're talking about here now. This is white collar crime. It's a lot of money moving and stuff. Very rarely is the maximum sentence given out for those things, right? Because the harm a lot of times is to institutions. It's hard to prove that you're truly harming indirect people, and usually harsher punishments go for that. So just putting that out there, but still, the potential is terrifying if you were them, and kind of eye-opening if you were just following along like we are. Now, that's just, that is just how the law is covering this. But we also have rules in baseball, so they're going to have something as well. We've talked about this a lot. We've talked about it a lot with the Pete Rose when he was posthumously reinstated along with the Black Sox and stuff. We talked about Rule 21, the rule that is read to every Major League Baseball team, word for word by some executive from the team in spring training. Every year you get it, and then you get a handout put on your, there's no excuse to not know what this is. It's a one-page thing, and there's two major clauses which these guys are probably going to be affected by. We have Rule 21D, Section 2, and 21D, Section 3. Any player, umpire, club, or league, official or employee shall bet any sum whatsoever upon a baseball game in connection with which that bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. This happened recently to an umpire, right, that was suspended after I believe during the 23 season and was declared ineligible last year. I am blanking on his name, but we covered that as well. And then Part 3 will also probably apply betting with illegal bookmakers, because it's not always illegal bookmakers, right? It could just be like insider trading and you're just doing it with your family. This wouldn't come in, but there is additional, outside of just being eligible, there is additional things that can happen. Penalty based on circumstances at the commissioner's discretion. I'm never a fan of Rob having any discretion over a punishment, but that is in play here. So these are two things to keep in mind. There's no excuse to not know these, and these are the two that are probably the biggest ones. Rules broken. So keep that in mind. There's two things here. There's MLB punishment, and then there's legal punishment. Obviously, legal punishment takes precedent, and nothing will probably be given out by MLB until legal punishment is covered. So just know that is kind of how things are going to play out here. Okay, moving on. So we're gonna get into how this whole thing is played out with our handy dandy whiteboard, and I have pre-prepared I've pre-prepared some information, which I am waiting for it to pop up. There it is. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do this. And I'm gonna try to visualize, because there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's a lot of different things going on. And this is just fun because I can point out what the heck's going on. All right, so now here's the information we know right now. Emanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz both suspended in July of this year with pay. The 28th for Clase, he was second, and Ortiz was on the 3rd. He was the first one, the inciting event, the one that maybe brought us all the attention to this whole thing, okay? So here's how it worked. They focused on prop bets, okay? So if you don't know what a prop bet is a bet on a very specific outcome on a very specific event in a game. Baseball loves prop bets because there's so many things that are happening, right? One thing they really focused on for these two guys, or the prop bets that were focused on the most, they thought they were the most confident that they would get the outcome they wanted, was pitch result, like a ball or a strike or a hit or whatever, and velocity. So the interesting thing is the velocity is always an over-under. So like, basically, depending on the pitch you throw, you can kind of game that, and I think they saw that opportunity. So for example, Emanuel Clase throws 100 miles an hour with his fastball, and his slider's 90 miles an hour. Okay, he doesn't have to do anything differently to make those things way different. So if the line is 95, you throw a slider. If you want to be below that, you want to throw a fastball if you want to be above it. That's the gist of things. So we're going to go off velo here, and we're going to go off result. Okay, so that's how we're doing these bets. So the pattern usually was, like I just said, they pick the pitch, and then generally, either way, they would just throw it in the dirt. So we're focusing on throwing it in the dirt so that we can guarantee it's a ball, and we can make sure that nothing actionable is going to happen on the pitch. Now, there is one pitch that got out of the way here. We'll cover that in a second, but that is kind of, it felt automatic at that point, and that's why they honed in on this side of things. And like I already mentioned, the velo differences were the biggest thing. So this is kind of how they ran through it. Okay. So there was communication involved, and Clase was kind of the guy that led this. There is evidence, we'll talk about this in a minute when we go through the timeline, but there is evidence in 2023 that he was already doing it before Luis Ortiz was even on the Guardians with him. So we're going to do their timelines after this. We'll do Clase, then we will do Ortiz. So there were two ways of communication. They texted. Some of these texts were crazy timed. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then there were also calls, many of which were in game. So, like, we had the closer that's supposed to be in the bullpen fielding calls 10 minutes before he pitched. I don't even know. That's crazy. Allegedly, that's what was happening. I don't know if it was actually him or somebody else with his phone. Either way, it's kind of crazy, but like, I'm trying to think about how it's even possible being a reliever myself, and that's insane. So we were going through text, we were going through calls. There's a big call and text paper trail and a lot of other evidence that's gonna come out as well. And when things didn't go well, there were gifts, like gifts exchanged as well. So, and then there was a paper trail. So this is how they're catching these guys, right? We have the text, we have calls. There's a paper trail where they can track how much money was won, because that's all tracked on the apps they were using, and then they have bank records to see how much money was changing hands beforehand too, because that also happened at times. So overall, Clase, the paper trail, Clase netted co-conspirators over 400K, which is crazy. Ortiz netted them over 60K. 60K plus, okay? So that's total about 450K plus total, okay? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about up to $500,000 won over a 2-year period by the conspirators that were helping the bettors, the people putting in the bets, because at no point did either one of these guys put a bet directly on their own name in their own account, because obviously that's how you get caught the fastest. Like, that's a direct link. They tried to create some of these steps between them so they didn't get caught. Okay, so that is how the whole thing kind of played out over 2 years. The investigation started in July. They've now found things and they've been indicted, and all of this is going to play in. Okay, so let's talk about specifically Emanuel Clase's timeline, because he was kind of the ringleader, and it began. The first pitch in question was May 19th, 2023, of all times. Now, when we first covered this story in July, we quoted a tweet from friend of the show and fellow YouTuber Foolish Bailey, who posted a bunch of videos of Emanuel Clase spiking first pitch fastballs and sliders to start innings over a period of time. It turns out that I believe every single one of these pitches was in that montage, and he didn't have any additional information. He just went and found it. So just a YouTuber, a data YouTuber, found this immediately. Like, he found it so fast. Isn't that, like, if that is what was happening, that was way too easy to catch. So just throwing it out there. Shout out to Foolish Bailey for his work on that. Okay, so let's talk about each one of these pitches really quick. I'm gonna go through it. May 19th, the first one, the bettors won $27K. That day, Clase actually blew that save. So this was worth $27K. This one was worth $38K for his conspirators. This was a slider to Zanino that bopped up and hit him, and he had to take a timeout. So we have a blown save, a rattled catcher. Then on June 7th, we have $58,000 changing hands. So if you notice, these are going up. We're getting a little bit emboldened here. And this is where we had another slider spiked in the dirt, and it was just spiked again. So no one got hurt on this one, but it could have been. So these three have been the same thing. Like, he's like, I think we have a pattern here. And this is where the text chain starts to go, and they start to, like, coordinate a little bit more. I think he ran a test run, it seems like, for a few weeks. Nothing got flagged, so we're gonna keep going. And with all accounts, they didn't catch him until Ortiz joined in for years later. So then we move forward to 2015. So those were the three. Those three were in 1 year. Nothing happened in 2024, which was the year he was in the finals for the Cy Young. So if we were wondering, like, how did he pitch so well that year? It's because he didn't do any of this in 2024, or at least there's no evidence of that at this moment, or they didn't find any. Then this coming season, in May 13th, 2025, that's when the texts started to happen, okay? So this one, Clase actually provided $2,500. So basically, Clase funded this one, gave it to the bettors, and then they won $3,500. So, I mean, okay, that doesn't seem worth it, but it was a positive. There was a text that says, however much you can, $2,500 and under. So basically, they didn't want to get flagged. $2,500 was the maximum for some reason. And then the bettor came over to Clase's house after. So that connection's been made. And then in the 17th, we have Clase texted the bettor, "Are you ready?" The response was, "But of course." 10 minutes later, $10,000 was made. So $10K was made on this. And this is texts during the game. So now I need to pause here for a second. We have texts during the game. When you are a reliever and you know you're going in the game, like, texting somebody, especially in Cleveland, the bullpen there's no way to get to like, you can't go back to the clubhouse really quick when you're in the bullpen and then run back, right? The bullpen's way out there. It's up 1,000 stairs. Like, you have to take your phone with you. So again, there's a chance, and it didn't say, and I don't think we have this information yet, it'll probably come out during the trial, is someone else could have been doing the texting. I don't know how or why you would text ready if there's no communication. So if we're assuming it's Clase, he has his phone with him in the bullpen. So he takes his phone, And because of the timing of this, like he must have been warming up, went to the bathroom, texted, went back out and warmed up. That's crazy. That's so risky. That's insane. Having your phone out in the bullpen is already the biggest no-no on the planet. So it's like, how you even hide it from your teammates? So now you're hiding stuff from your teammates and you're hiding stuff. It's nuts. If that's what was happening, now that's just it's conjecture here at this point because we don't know exactly when he was doing it. But like if he was, that's nuts. Okay. So later that month, we have another one against the Dodgers, pre-game text. So now we are texting every single time, and this one was worth nothing because Andy Pages swung. So this is the one that did not work because it was a spiked first pitch of the inning. Andy Pages swung at it, and so after this, they text each other. I can't believe that just happened. Shout out to Pages for thwarting a betting scandal that is, I mean, for lack of a better term, hilarious, okay? And then the last recorded one we have is April 26th, and this was another one, 11K, was won by the bettors, and it was on a pitch below 97.25 miles per hour, okay? That doesn't say mile, you got it, you get it. So like, he threw a slider. He threw a slider in the dirt, and Pages swung at it first pitch. That was the night before, sorry. And so he just threw a slider here. Doesn't matter if it's a strike ball, whatever. It just has to be under 97. That's the best way he can do that. And he did it. So all of these pitches have been flagged, and then we have the indictment happen up here. Okay. So all of this accounts for over $400,000 in money changing hands. And then we're going to really quickly cover Ortiz. So let's get into Ortiz's timeline real quick. Come on. Thank you. So Ortiz only has the 2 pitches. They were the same pitches from the original suspension. This is allegedly when he was recruited by Clase. And there was an agreement that both of them would share in the winnings, okay? So for example, Clase receives a payment. So one of these would be the payment for the first one here was $5,000 to Ortiz plus $5K also to Clase. So like they're splitting the winnings now at this point. If Ortiz is doing it because he's a starting pitcher, there's more opportunities. That was probably where a lot of this came from. They both get a little bit of a kickback. So now Clase is trying to double dip in this thing, even though, and he's also doing it as well. I think that he was emboldened by the first successful run happening and nothing kind of coming of it. And then June 27th was the last time it went up, and the payment increased to $7K to each. So now we're kicking it up a little bit, but now we're seeing a lot of patterns here, right? These pitches seem a lot more organized to me. And when things seem systematic and organized, that's when they start to get caught. And then you have all of the texts as well that are very easy to get once you open the investigation, which is probably when the investigation was open, this stuff went really, really fast. So at the end of the day, this 7K right here, they both made 12K with the winnings as well. So it went to 12K each. All right. So we've already covered how much went places and where it went. And a lot of this stuff feels very damning at this point. It's kind of tough for me to watch, frankly, because there's a boldness to the way this was done that it's not surprising they were caught. But also, the motivation is what's interesting to me, and I want to talk a little bit about what all this means because, you know, we're gonna have lasting implications. Okay, there's a lot of people who are going to be affected, or a lot of things going to be affected. First of all, there's going to be the Guardians. Okay, so the Guardians they lose closer, who was on a team friendly and one of the best in the league. They lose their closer and they lose starting pitcher, SP, who was young and controllable. I hate that word, but it is apt here. So they're going to lose a starting pitcher and they lose a very good closer, which was very controllable and also very cheap and also very tradable. So he was so valuable as a player, and to have it kind of go away over something this not that lucrative, and it's also, you have to like launder this. Like there's no, you have to hide this money, and it's not really like you're getting paid way more. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. But like, if they never return, like how to replace these guys? Like how is the Guardians going to replace those two very big roles? But if any team is good at like finding value for not so much money, it's the Guardians, and it turned out to not really matter because they ended up winning the division anyways. So, moving forward, let me just scroll down the chat. Sorry, I'm missing a lot of chat here. Okay. So, the Guardians, very adversely affected, and there are some financial obligations as well. So, like what happens to the money, right? What happens to the money? Do we, Clase, he is currently on a 5-year, $20 million extension, signed through 2027. So he had 2 more years on it. So what he had left to be paid is 4.9 and 6.4 million, which is crazy low, so low. He's still Clase's owned. Clase owed 10 million, give or take, right? Plus 10 million plus. So he's not going to get that money. There's a very low chance he comes back and pitches, even if he's not indicted, or he is indicted already, even if he's not convicted. Now, nothing's owed to Ortiz, right? So, like, that just, he didn't have guaranteed money. So there's nothing on the books for him. So if anything, the Guardians are going to save $10 million, but they're going to lose one of the best closers, and that trade-off is not good. You can't get a lot more for that. So, but there is finances to do with it. I don't know why we make the decision when we're making this much money to forego that, all right? But then there's an impact on the game itself, right? The game now, there's question marks around that, and there's some really interesting things that are going to come out, right? So, one, like, how vulnerable is the game to this happening now? Like, how vulnerable is this system to being, like, is it happening a lot? Can it happen again? Like, how far could you take this? How far, like, what's the punishment going to be like, right? Are like education and prevention measures enough? Are we doing enough to make sure people don't do this? Because the ban for life thing clearly wasn't a big enough deterrent for people, which I feel like that's the biggest deterrent they could possibly have. I don't know what else you can threaten, frankly. Be like, hey, you're going to be banned forever and not make any money. And guys are like, okay. And then they do it anyway. Like, that's, I don't know what else you can say at that point. I feel like they've gone as far as they can. Right? So if you're permanently ineligible, you're just not involved with the game anymore. There's nothing you can really do. So who else? If it's this easy, who else is doing it? Who else is part of this? Like I mentioned, would someone else have the phone? Is there other players involved? Did other players know? Did other players say, hey man, I don't want anything to do with that? Because that's entirely possible. Who knows, right? I don't know, but it might have happened. But that's another question. Is more people going to come out, and is it going to hurt other people? And how connected do you have to be for the Major League Baseball to care enough, and then the legal side to care enough for them to be conspirators, right? And then, can we talk about integrity? How is this going to affect fans' trust? Because there's always a meme going around on the internet that the game's rigged. People are buying World Series, whatever. Now we have this. Now that's going to be thrown around like crazy. We already see like Ohtani. Everyone gets mad at Ohtani because they think he was doing the betting or whatever, and like there's just no evidence of it. But whatever, like they're just not going to let it go. This is proof. There's like very strong proof. So if convictions happen here, how irreparably is the game going to be when you can't trust what you're looking at? It's like AI slop. Like, we don't know it's real or not. Now it's happening in sports. That is not exciting for me. So, I mean, we're going to have to see, like, what is regulation? What regulation is going to come from this? I doubt anything. I don't trust anyone to regulate anything at the moment. How is the betting industry gonna try to crack down on this stuff? Because they already have third-party watchdogs. They're trying to catch this stuff. They don't want it to happen because they don't want their integrity hit either. So is there going to be more there? Is it just more people watching? I don't know. I don't know how you can nip this in the bud fast enough to where this stuff doesn't happen, because in the scope of everything, this is like the amount of money, it's a good amount of money, but like it's nothing close to what like happened in the Ohtani thing. And even in terms of the money they're making and the market as a whole, it's barely a drop in the bucket. So like, it doesn't seem worth it, but like, is that enough? I don't know. And we're not going to know until this thing plays out. Okay. And the last big one for me, especially in the convictions, is like how do punishments change if like the games really didn't, like the outcomes generally didn't change that much. There was one blown save in there, but like he still pitched really well. Both of them did. So like the game outcome is in it. Is that factor into much, or is it just every individual event, it can be seen as its own game? We'll see. And that, I think there's going to be a lot of precedent put together, and we're going to get guidelines for how this stuff's handled in the future. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm baffled, but like it's funny. Everything that it pointed to at the beginning is kind of what happened, and so it's going to be interesting to watch how this thing plays out in the future. So, hold on. So, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. How is this going to play out? What's going to change? And do we think anyone else is involved? Do we think that the rules need to be reestablished? Do we think more needs to be added? Do we need clear punishments like we did for, hold on, I'm gonna turn this off. Do we need clear punishments? Hold on. Sorry, do we need clear punishments for, like we did with steroids, right? With like performance enhancing? Do we need like, if it's this, then this much time off? Is it this much time, or is it like past this threshold full? Do we need to kind of start breaking that down and build out a whole thing? I want to know what you guys think in the comments. And we're going to cover this ongoing, but it's crazy. All right. There is a second story. Number 2. And this one's more tea. So I hope you guys are ready for the tea here on this one. Let's get right into it. The MLBPA mole. So recently, just a couple weeks ago, an article came out from Evan Drellick, one of my favorite guys over there at The Athletic, where he broke a story about Jim Murray, a former player agent that was banned for double dealing with the MLB during the 2020 COVID negotiations, something I lived through and I remember vividly. Now, this thing is horrifying. Moles are so cute until you see their horrible, horrible, horrible faces and their horrible, horrible claws. But other than that, I can't look at this photo anymore. So again, 2 articles, Evan Drellick. We have MLB bans agent Jim Murray over double dealing. I just mentioned that. And then the next day, we have this awesome photo of our man, Rob. Inside the text messages of the agent who became the mole for Rob Manfred and MLB. Direct text messages. It's gonna get spicy. And we're gonna be doing the whiteboard once again. But okay, so real quick, let me give you a rundown of what happened in 2020. Refresh your memory after I drink this water. All right, so there was a lot of heated negotiations during the 2020 COVID negotiations. So the game is shut down. We're trying to negotiate if there's prorated pay, if we're getting full pay for games, all the games as if they were played, how many games we're going to play in the season. I remember the players would be like 110, and then Rob would be like 60, and then we'd be like 80, he'd be like 60, and then we'd be like 70, he'd be like 60, because that's how much they had to continue to not lose money on the season. Basically what it come down to, that's what it ended up being. So, but it got really testy, which was then a prerequisite or maybe a prequel to the 2022 lockout, which then turned in the CBA negotiations, which did not go any better. Okay? So, this is the man who was in the middle of this, and I'm going to explain his story in a moment. This is Jim Murray. Did you take it in? Okay, got it. Okay, so here's the skinny. The Major League Baseball Players Association is in charge of certifying players' agents. So basically, the PA has to say, you have to register with us to be the agent to represent your player in contract negotiations and anything else. So if you want to speak on behalf of your player, you have to register with the PA. That's standard practice for every league. Like, that makes sense. You're all in this together, or you're supposed to be. But we're going to see why maybe Jim wasn't in a moment. Okay? So he was most recently at WMEA Sports, and for multiple years, they fined him for double dealing with the commissioner's office during sensitive labor negotiations, meaning he was going back and forth and giving information to both sides. He was playing both sides. Okay? This is not as uncommon as you think, at least the communication, but it usually isn't done this way. So here is the punishment. He is decertified for 4 years. He can't do what I just said for the next 4 years, but he can recertify, try to get recertified after. He was also fined $100,000, and if he wants to get recertified in 4 years, it's going to cost him an additional $150,000 to pay for that. Now, these guys take percentages of contracts. They have plenty of money. That sounds like a lot of money. It's really, 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 really not. My agent that I had did Mookie Betts' contract, and his cut of Mookie Betts' contract was more than I was making. So they're good. They're doing great. The good ones are doing really good, and Jim Murray had lots of big clients. So he can also do other work for other clients. So he can do marketing work for people, media personalities and stuff that are adjacent, but he just can't do the direct negotiations, the big payout stuff, okay? Okay, so he's been punished, he's been accused of that, so let's talk about what happened. What did he do? What happened? Why are we mad at Jim Murray? Hey, Jim, okay, let's get you off the screen. All right, Jim Murray, he is the center of our story. We have the MLBPA in the top left, and we have the commissioner's office on the top right. This is where they're all connected, okay? So, just like in politics, there are things called back channels. So if you watch any political show, or God forbid, any political commentary on TV, you know about back channeling. Basically, it's another person that knows both parties that can facilitate a negotiation back and forth because the two parties don't like each other very much. So instead of the PA, Tony Clark, needing to talk directly to Rob, they don't seem to, if it's heated and they're getting really frustrated, then maybe we add someone in between. This is pretty common practice for players, especially because player agents know both and they can act as a liaison if both sides like that person. Jim Murray was one of them. There was others. So in the past, it's been like, hey, they'll be like, hey, we were thinking about proposing this thing. What do you think based on what you know? And then he'll be like, hey guys, they kind of floated this thing. So it's not an official negotiation, but it's a little bit less it's a little bit more toe in the water. You don't need to be official. So they don't get themselves stuck. This goes well. This works best when there's more good faith going on. The reason it doesn't work very well is because there's not very much good faith negotiation going on. So that is what Jim Murray was supposed to do. Okay, he was supposed to say, hey, what do you think of this, blah, blah, blah. Instead, he was just telling the commissioner's office what the PA was doing and what they would take and advising the commissioner's office on how to put pressure on the players. Allegedly, that is what is being alleged in the document put out by the MLBPA. And that does not make me happy. But I will say, caveat, I do not know Jim, okay? I do not know Jim personally, and I have never interacted with Jim, but if true, me no happy. So moving forward, there was a comment asked for by, so they reached out for comment to ask Jim, hey, what is your comment on this stuff? And they received a response from Jim's lawyer. Her name is Christina G. Sarchio, okay? This is his personal lawyer, and she gave a statement. And I'm going to read both of her statements because they are the most lawyer jargon crap I've ever read, and I just have to do it. Hold on. This is a quote from Gina about the situation. So you know, this is a settlement. Jim decided to settle. They settled. They said, okay, I'll take the punishment. We're good. This says, rather than continue a very expensive and time-consuming dispute with the Players Association related to allegations from 5 years ago, so we're downplaying it because it was a long time ago, doesn't matter, arising out of COVID-19 pandemic, the parties reached an agreement yesterday with no admission of wrongdoing by James Murray that allows him to continue guiding clients by putting his distraction behind him. Okay. I just want to put this out here. No matter how many times you say no wrongdoing admitted, if you settle and you accept the punishment, that is an admission of guilt. I don't care legally or not legally. It's called human beings. That is what it is. You are accepting that you did a measure of the things that are being alleged. Save it, okay? I will say that. As someone who is a player and is supposed to trust these people, that's not good enough. So I will say that. She has another one later. We will cover that. This isn't the first time Jim has been in trouble, okay? So in the years since 2021 to 2024, or in 2024, there was another dispute he was in between Excel, his prior agency, and WME, his current agency, because it turns out that when he left Excel and breached his own contract, he took 13 clients with him, which is poaching clients, which is in most contracts not allowed. And he did it anyways. And WME recruited him knowing that he was going to do that, and they did it anyways. So like doing premeditated breaking of contracts is usually a no-no. And that's how a lot of this stuff was found out about, because that proceeding happened and there was a lot of documents put forward for that. So the WME to Excel problem. Excel had a problem with him leaving. He was sued and he received a sizable punishment, but that is undisclosed at this time as well. So evidently he got in trouble for that. A lot of the documentation in that proceeding was what led the PA to bring this one forward. And they don't have to actually take it to court unless it's not settled for, which it wasn't, because it's an internal thing. So, okay. Now let's get to the text messages, because there's a bunch of texts between these two. Text messages, spicy. Actually, not just Rob, because any story like this wouldn't be complete without our favorite character, Robert Cornelius Manfred. Okay, he is part of this, but so are some of his lieutenants. We're going to talk about them. So there's a series of text messages sent that prove that Jim was doing the things that he was doing. Allegedly. Again, this isn't going to be proven in court, so actually, with the settlement, I can just say this is what was reported. Take that with what you will, okay? So, there were reportedly hundreds of messages, but Drellick only used a few. He said, March 26th, 2020, Murray texted Manfred to urge him to stay strong in the fight against the Players Union. This is the quote. This is what it said. Please, in capitals, do not give in according to the MLBPA's proposed October language. You will get the deal done without it. Basically, he said, do not capitulate. You will win no matter what. That is a player agent saying that to the commissioner. That is a You are not working for him. Jim? What the hell? Okay? 3 weeks later, on April 18th, Murray texted with the commissioner's chief communications officer. This is like the press secretary for the commissioner, Pat Courtney, saying the following. This is a quote from Courtney. Said, Clark saying players should get paid 100% of empty ballparks, ? He's asking, do they think they should get paid 100% of their salary even though there's nobody in the ballpark? And then Murray replied saying, you guys should just ignore, let Tony hang himself. So right now, Jim is arguing for actively paying players less, which is his main job, is doing the opposite of that, okay? What the hell? Then, in June 2020, Courtney and Murray spoke again. Murray said this, F the players. I'm still so pissed off, I can't see straight. We need them to be pissed off at their leadership. Believe me, it's a or we need them to be pissed off at their leadership, said Courtney. So Courtney's like, hey man, come on, turn the players against the Players Association leadership. And Murray said, believe me, it's a priority for me. Give me a second. Okay, last few things here. Earlier that month, there was also an email sent from Murray to Courtney, same thing, where he wrote a bunch of talking points for the commissioner's office to say. He said, I wrote these last night. Maybe they'll be helpful to you. Please don't blame us for the salary reductions. Please blame the crisis at hand. Don't blame us. Blame COVID. Nice. The commissioner did not say he can pay 100% of salaries in an 82-game season. The quote was taken out of context. These are the most simple spin quotes ever. So firstly, why are you writing talking points? And secondly, these are obvious. They don't need you to tell them. These are the most obvious talking points I've ever seen. Like, of course, that's if you want to spin, that's what you're going to say. You're going to say, nuh-uh, like that's, just say nuh-uh, like was his advice, which is, I'm just kind of now making fun of him because this whole thing's so stupid. And there were also evidently texts between Murray and also Rob Manfred. Murray allegedly told Manfred to send him proposals. So he's like, send me proposals. Send them. And then whether or not Rob did it, we don't know, but he asked for it. A couple times Rob also texted him to scold him for something that was said in publicly, not that Jim said, but a client maybe, or a player. And he's like, hey man, get this under control. So basically, Rob was trying to wield control over a group of players and drive a wedge using one of the player agents who was very, very eager to do so. Now, we don't know why. Like, I don't know why Jim wanted to do this. I didn't know what Jim hoped to receive. But it's baffling to me. So now there was another comment, okay? Like I got to read this before we get into the conclusion here. Another comment from Christina Suchio. Another comment says, this is her next press release or her next response. The MLBPA focused on cherry-picked out-of-context quotes while ignoring both Mr. Murray's first advocacy on behalf of his players for more than 25 years and the fact that actions during tumultuous, stressful time were no different from those of other agents and others. So there's no proof that anyone else did anything like this, so that's just what we call not true. And then the second part is ignoring Murray's fierce advocacy on behalf of players for more than 25 years. I'm going to say this one time. It takes 25 years to build trust. It takes 1 second to break it. So you don't get to complain about that, okay? Yes, one event like this, an egregious breach of trust, can undo 25 years of goodwill, even if it was goodwill, which by all counts, there was other things going on. So like, that's not fully true, but like, that is not good enough. Respect is constantly earned. You don't just get it one time, then you get it in perpetuity. That's not how it works. That's not how anything works, so don't try to convince me of that. No one's stupid. Mr. Murray never sought to do anything other than help players get back on the field safely. Indeed, a number of current and former players are prepared to testify on Mr. Murray's behalf, but Mr. Murray instead chose to avoid the ongoing distraction of having to arbitrate issues related to events that happened more than 5 years, there it is again, more than 5 years ago. If it was a long time ago, it no longer matters. It is unfortunate that now being used against him in a way to deflect from what appear to be more serious issues. I don't know what more serious issues mean. I don't know what she is referring to in that moment, but basically it's just saying, hey, it's not that big of a deal. But it is. It is a big deal, and I don't like it. So they're built on trust, right? You got to trust the people that you work with, and that was not very good. So that's the Jim Murray situation. And right now he is currently suspended, and he will be suspended for the next 4 years. Fortunately, he will not be part of any negotiations moving forward with the PA, or he won't be involved in the next CBA negotiations. So at least we don't have that to worry about. But again, like I said, a lot of this stuff has been alleged by the PA. It was settled on, which in my opinion is a level of admission of guilt. are there maybe some contextual circumstances that soften this a little bit? Sure, maybe. But at the end of the day, any single one of those comments, if I found out about my agent was doing it, fired. Fired, out, you're done. If you're going directly against the things we are talking about, right? If I realize that you are undermining us in any meaningful way, then I'm going to be really frustrated. A last little part here too. It turns out he was trying to lead the charge on getting patches on shirts or on the jerseys. I don't know if there was a financial thing there, but I think that getting players to go back and play as quickly as possible leads to the agencies getting paid their due that year. I don't know how much that had to do with it. It's really hard to tell what the motivation behind a lot of this stuff was. It could have just been wanting to be in the good graces of the guy that makes the decisions. That would be understandable, but not respectable, but understandable. So, I don't know this person as a person. I just know that based on what I've read and based on the research that I've done, that as an ex-player, I don't appreciate it very much, but I want to know what you guys think down in the comments in the chat, okay? Okay. We got a word from our sponsors really quickly because we're coming up on the end of the hour here, so say hi to the guys for me.
This episode of FT is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. Give me an example in Pennsylvania, Kratz.
Right down the street from my house, the Tap House. Not only is it an awesome place to hang out, get your beers, get your drinks, whatever it is, but you know what? The company has the simplicity of Square, and they give back to the community with 10% of all the proceeds that they bring in going back to community projects.
I love it. Sports and sports bars are so good at bringing together local communities, and you can actually take this ad as an excuse to go support your local spot and have yourself a day or a weekend in the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. These businesses are what make the neighborhood the neighborhood. So visit square.com/go/foul to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. Again, that's square.com/go/foul to learn more.
Check out square.com/go/foul. And go support your favorite neighborhood spot to see what Square has been up to in your neck of the woods. Thank you, Square, for sponsoring today's show. I appreciate that a lot. All right, we got to get into the news. But before we do that, I want to do this real quick. Let's hit some real quick housekeeping. Remember, the Substack is up. If you want to support us directly, after the new year, there's going to receive some more value, more changes. So nothing's going to change in terms of pay or not pay or what's free and what's not free. Over there, if you want to support us financially, that is the best way to do it. We're working on profit sharing and stuff for the Substack. So any way you can help, we appreciate it. But again, mostly everything's there for free. There might be some stuff behind paywalls in the future, but it'll be more stuff. We'll never put anything that is currently free behind not free in the future. Everything that is free now will always be free. Okay. Also, more Mayday, second channel. Videos go on there all the time. They're going to be going on there more and more. We have all kinds of fun stuff being edited and worked on. And then the Other Baseball Award Show will be on next Wednesday, starting at noon, right here on Foul Territory, and then over on Trevor May Baseball for the second hour. It is at noon Pacific time, and you can vote with exclamation point vote in both Trevor May Baseball's chat and the Twitch chat. It is a ballot to pick one of the top four winners for the 8 community categories. And we'll talk more in the second hour about the other categories that are involved. Okay, let's talk about the news because there's a bunch of stuff happening in the news. This is the rumor recap because we are now in the GM meetings and the winter meetings are just over the horizon. So a lot of free agency stuff, a lot of trade stuff, a lot of award stuff, okay? First up, Manager of the Year was announced. And for the AL, we had back-to-back winners. Actually, in both, it was Mr. Pat Murphy and Mr. Stephen Vogt, the pride of Olympia, Washington, girls high school basketball referee group. And they are both the Manager of the Year. They are the first time that the last time an NL manager won back-to-back was in 04 and 05 with Bobby Cox in Atlanta. And in AL, it was Kevin Cash 2021. So congratulations to these two on winning them. Though, I agree on the Pat Murphy one, and I am a huge Stephen Vogt fan. I played an All-Star game with him. I love that guy. I think John Schneider probably should have taken it this year. I think that is a good snub. But I think coming back from a 15.5 game deficit to win your division and lose 2 guys to a betting scandal, one of which is an all-star closer, and still come back and do it and deal with all those distractions is really impressive. So I think it's a coin flip, but I would have went with John Schneider for sure. Rookie of the year. It was the 2 guys that we guessed several times this year. We have Drake Baldwin on the right, and on the left we have Nick Kurtz. Nick Kurtz is the bopper from the A's. He had... Let's get into his stats because he's got some crazy stuff going on. Nick Kurtz was unanimous. He was the first unanimous American League Rookie of the Year in a very long time. 14th to do it. He beat out Jacob Wilson, his teammate, who had 23 second-place votes. To be unanimous, you get 30 first-place votes. And then Roman Anthony finished third with a scattering of third-place votes and second-place votes. He had a 4.6 WAR. He had 36 home runs and 86 RBIs and a 1,000 OPS. He's one of the best hitters in the league. He was just behind Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge in OPS, which is pretty good, but he could not qualify for the batting title because he was called up in late April. So unfortunately for him, that didn't work out. But fortunately for the A's, they have a very good one. And like I mentioned, he was 25th in F4 after only having a month less than a lot of the people in that list. So that's pretty crazy. Baldwin finished ahead of Cade Horton. He got 21 first-place votes. He hit 274 with 19 home runs, 341 on-base percentage, and 80 RBIs, and split time with the highest-paid catcher in the major leagues, Sean Murphy. So, that's impressive. He was DHing. Horton did have a 1.03 second-half ERA, but he got hurt at the end, didn't have enough innings. And just like we thought, Drake Baldwin was going to take that. So congratulations to Jake Baldwin. And I think those 2 are correct. I think we hit it right on the nail head for them. Let's talk a little bit about the rumor roundup and the GM meetings. GM meetings are when all the GMs meeting. Where? In fuzzy Vegas. Golden Arches. The annual general manager meetings have convened, and there are a lot of rumors flying. So first rumor I want to talk about is Mr. Bo Bichette, free agent. Is he going to play second base, and are teams interested in him as a second or third baseman? Now, you may be wondering, why not shortstop? It is because for the second time in a row, he led the league. He was the worst defensive shortstop by defensive runs saved in the American League. It happened again. So, and he showed in the World Series that he has the athleticism to play second base. It's not an arm issue. I think it just comes down to range and just making the plays you're supposed to make, and he doesn't do a great job of that. So I think they can handle that. And teams that have been connected to him possibly being a second baseman are the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Giants. Hey, there's one. The Giants with Willie Adames. So these guys all have really good shortstops. Adding him. The guy can swing it. I think that's not surprising. I believe he was second in hits, and he missed the last 2 weeks of the season, which is crazy. So he could be a huge pickup. Now, how that changes his value, I don't know. He's still 27 years old. He's looking for a big deal. He's going to get paid. And the guy can frickin' hit. So any team could use him, but interesting how Bo Bichette is being thrown around here. Speaking of second baseman, the Arizona Diamondbacks have put out there that Ketel Marte might be motivated in moving him. Now, this is a guy who I think is a sleeper. He's almost the Jose Ramirez of the NL for me. Like almost, not quite, but almost. He's a very productive player. He's always playing better than you think he's playing. And it's just Arizona. Sometimes those guys get lost behind the other big boppers in that division. The report comes after Marte and the D-backs went through a little bit of a difficult stretch this last year after he re-extended with them going into the season. He had that horrible fan heckling problem. He had the high dollar, like he got his house got burglarized, a lot of issues. And then I guess he kind of asked for days off a lot, and he also just showed up late for coming back from the All-Star break and hanging out in the Dominican a couple extra days. I don't know what's going on with that. So I guess there was a little bit of a rift happening in the clubhouse at the time. This is all alleged. But that's something that drives this motivation to get rid of a guy a lot. So again, another great, like really, really high quality bat, second baseman that's available. That's two pretty, like there's a lot of teams that they could slot into really well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how their markets coalesce. Moving on, let's talk about Kyle Tucker. Projected to make a whole bunch of money. The Orioles have emerged as an under-the-radar team for Kyle Tucker. Ken Rosenthal, Will Salmon from The Athletic asked executives about an under-the-radar thing, and two of them said, unrelated to each other, suggested the Orioles for Tucker. Now, I think a fit-wise, absolutely, the Orioles should make some moves. Offense didn't seem like Baltimore's biggest need, but the outfield did struggle. They need to get pitching. We all know about that. But I think it would fit in too, and he's a young guy. He'd fit in with the young core. It's not like he would be a veteran. Like, he still fits in the mold, kind of. He could be part of that crew for a long period of time. That the timing might be really good for that. I think he would thrive in Baltimore as well. I would love to see him in the AL East. I really like this landing. Now, he's going to be really expensive. He's projected to make the most money in the playoffs, or in the playoffs in this last season, or in the offseason, sorry, in free agency. But I like it. I think it's good if they can do it. Now, do I think they're going to do it? No. I'm not convinced that David Rubenstein, their new owner, is any better than the Angeloses at this point. Now, I understand there was character flaws with the other people, but like, he's shown me nothing that he's going to take any chances, and this isn't anything other than something in his portfolio. That's all I'm saying. Now, is this a little bit of saltiness from his salary cap comment earlier in the year? Probably, but that just shows me where his head's at, and that doesn't tell me he's going to like get excited about a player, or that like baseball is really even his thing, but we'll see. And then I'm a big fan of Elias. I think he develops players really well, but I just also think he struggles to pull the trigger sometimes. And if there's a bidding war, I just don't see those two. I don't see those two hopping on the horse and winning the race. I just don't. So I think it's a little bit of a far-fetched thing, but what do I know? I'm just a guy. Okay, keep going. Royals are interested in trading for outfielders. First reported by JP Morosi, our guy. The Royals are valuing the trade market. Their outfield was terrible last year. Triple slashing combined at 225, 285 on base, and a 348. Too many strikeouts, too much going on. Their 37 home runs as a group was tied for the second fewest of any team's outfielders. And they had a 73 ones created plus, which is terrible. So they need some bop. And obviously they're looking to the Red Sox, who might have some overflow with Cedane. Rafael has been thrown in there. I don't think he's going anywhere. It would more likely be a Duran or a Wilyer Abreu thing. But also the Angels have been tied with Joe Adell and Taylor Ward. It'd be interesting to see Taylor Ward. I don't know if Joe Adell is the biggest pickup there. I don't think he has more pop, but he also strikes out a lot, which is also what their problem is. So that might not be the greatest fit. But we'll see. I think that if they could land one of the Red Sox, that would be a savvy move. I think the Royals do savvy moves quite often. And then there were questions about Devin Williams and where he's going to end up this year after being traded to the Yankees and having, by all accounts, a down year. Things didn't go perfectly the way he wanted them to. And guess who is the front runner for possibly landing Devin Williams? The Los Angeles Dodgers. Sorry, we talk about them so much. According to The Athletic's Fabian Ardaya, sorry about that. The Dodgers looking to at least one leverage arm. He's not going to command the money that Tanner Scott did, so you don't have to worry about that probably, though he will get a good solid deal. They need a right-handed guy. They do need relievers. I understand that Scott didn't work out this year, but it's pretty clear they still have to go. That's an area they need to address if they want to keep being good, and they're going to do what they need. And by all accounts, and we covered this earlier in the year, and I think it ended with all this being true. Yes, he had a 4.79 ERA on the year, but his FIP was a 2.68, and his expected ERA was a 3.09. Not as dominating as he was in Milwaukee, but again, we went over the defenses. Milwaukee's defense has always been elite. The Yankees hasn't. That's probably most of what was going on. And he finished strong, and he threw well in the playoffs. So we'll see. The Dodgers could be in for Devin Williams, and I like that for the Dodgers. I think that is a good move. He is one of the elite guys out, but I also think that he's a little bit more affordable, or there might be like a bridge situation where you can go 1 year, opt out, higher AAV. and a lot of flexibility both ways. So we can either recoup or opt in. I think that's a likely scenario, especially with the Dodgers, who are probably going to go for everyone else, as we mentioned earlier. Okay? All right. That is the rumor recap. That is what we have going on this week. Next week, we're going to have another one because I'm sure there'll be a bunch more stuff out. And we will cover the rest of those awards in that show as well. Before I let you go, though, we have one more word from the boys, Foul Territory, and then I will see you over on Trevor May Baseball YouTube channel. We're going to swap over and we're going to start talking about awards and do mace-plaining. So I'll see you there in just a moment. Say hi to the guys.
Kratz Pop Quiz. What has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, comes in excellent flavors like, of course, chocolate, vanilla, but chocolate peanut butter, my favorite. No added sugar, gluten-free, under $5 per meal, and is ready to drink.
Go out the house, get yourself a Huel. Look at you. You even have one right there. Ready to smack that, John? Chocolate peanut butter, chocolate, and vanilla. Deliciosos.
Also, there is a new daily greens ready to drink, 42 vitamins, minerals, and Kratz Pop Quiz. What has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, comes in excellent flavors like, of course, chocolate, vanilla, but chocolate peanut butter, my favorite. No added sugar, gluten-free, under $5 per meal, and is ready to drink.
Go out the house, get yourself a Huel. Look at you. You even have one right there. Ready to smack that, John? Chocolate peanut butter, chocolate, and vanilla. Deliciosos.
Also, there is a new daily greens ready to drink, 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods. Only 25 calories on that one, 4 grams of fiber. There's flavors like blueberry, apple, peach. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with the code FOUL at huel.com/FOUL. Use that code FOUL and fill out the post-checkout survey to help support FT.